Build the system, see your future grow effortlessly. I remember the moment my ambition turned into anxiety. It was not the failures that broke me, it was the effort. The constant, grinding, endless effort. Waking up early, staying up late, reading the books, listening to the speeches, journaling, visualizing, setting goals, resetting goals, hustling again. But nothing felt stable. Everything felt like sand. I built towers of motivation in the morning, only to watch them crumble by nightfall. I had fire but no frame. I had dreams but no direction. And the worst part was this: I believed the lie that working harder meant I was getting closer. In truth, I was only getting more tired. There comes a moment when the soul rebels against chaos. When the heart grows weary of inspiration without structure. When all the quotes in the world cannot fix the leak in your life's foundation. I reached that moment. And in the silence after burnout, I heard something different. Not louder. Not more inspiring. Just clearer. A whisper in the bones that said, "You do not need more motivation. You need a system." That voice did not ask me to fight harder, it invited me to build something permanent. Something predictable. Something that would grow even when I slept. That was the beginning of my transformation. Not in a seminar, not during a motivational video, but in the stillness of breakdown. I finally understood success is not a sprint. It is a system. And without that system, even the most passionate soul will burn out. This book is not about doing more. It is about building better. It is about replacing chaos with clarity, confusion with rhythm, and willpower with design. The truth is, most people do not fail because they lack dreams. They fail because they rely on energy instead of architecture. They keep pushing a boulder uphill, not realizing they could build a slope and let the system carry the weight. People admire effort, but effort alone is fragile. It dies in the cold. What you need is something that works when you do not. A structure that holds your goals. A rhythm that makes progress feel effortless. That is what I learned. That is what I built. And now, I offer it to you. You may be tired. You may feel like you are running out of time. Maybe your motivation is fraying at the edges, or you are secretly afraid that life is passing you by. I understand. But you must hear this: it is not your fault. You were never taught how to build the machine. You were told to dream, to strive, to stay positive. But no one gave you the blueprint. And so you tried everything: routines, habits, books, courses, but nothing stuck. You thought it was discipline you lacked. But it was design. That is what this book gives you. Not a sermon, but a system. Not a fantasy, but a formula. Not just how to grow, but how to make growth inevitable. The system I will show you is not complex. In fact, its power is in its simplicity. It is based on one core truth: your future is not created by what you feel, but by what you repeat. What you automate, you accelerate. And what you measure, you master. The goal is not to force results, but to build a flow that makes results natural. Like a tree that grows because the soil, water, and light are consistent, your life can grow because the environment you create is stable. This is the essence of effortless progress. Do not try harder, build smarter. Stop reacting. Start designing. Think of the people you admire. The ones who seem calm yet productive, focused yet balanced. You may think they have more energy or talent. But often, what they really have is a stronger system. One that removes friction, reduces decision fatigue, protects their focus, and aligns their time with their values. That is not luck. That is intentional structure. And the good news is, you can build the same. You can design a life that supports your vision instead of suffocating it. You can automate growth, embed momentum, and finally feel what it means to rise without resistance. This is not about becoming a machine. It is about becoming the architect of your freedom. Discipline does not mean living rigidly. It means choosing your constraints so that freedom can flourish. And that is the paradox most people never see. The more intentional your structure, the more effortless your life becomes. The more you design your days, the less drained you feel. Because systems remove the need for daily reinvention. They turn chaos into cadence. They carry your future forward, one small repeatable action at a time. So if you have ever felt like you are stuck in loops, always starting strong but losing steam, always dreaming big but falling short, you are not broken. You are simply unstructured. Your potential is still intact. Your dreams are still valid. You just need a new way. A path that is not powered by hype, but by quiet consistency. A system that honors your energy instead of abusing it. That is what this journey is about. In the chapters ahead, we will build that system together. You will learn how to identify the levers that move your life, how to install rituals that renew you, how to align your time with your highest outcomes, and most importantly, how to remove the friction that keeps you from your future. This is not a motivational book. This is an operations manual for your dreams, a design for destiny, a structure for sustainable success. If you are ready to stop struggling and start building, then keep going. Your future is not a mystery. It is a system. And by the time you finish this book, that system will be yours. Chapter 1. From Struggle to Structure. There is a kind of exhaustion that coffee cannot fix. It is not physical. It is not from sleepless nights or busy days. It comes from inconsistency, from living life without a map, from waking up each day and improvising your way forward. It is the fatigue of firefighting, not building. It wears down your spirit, not just your body. And the worst part is, you begin to think this is normal. You begin to think that effort without traction is just how life works. But deep down, something whispers there must be a better way. I met a man once who had a heart full of vision, but no rhythm in his days. He was brilliant, passionate, full of ideas. He could inspire anyone in 5 minutes. But his life was always on fire. His mornings were frantic, his weeks were blurred, and his progress was sporadic. He thought he had a motivation problem. But he was wrong. His problem was structural. He was trying to grow flowers in a field of chaos. And no matter how bright his seeds, the soil never stayed steady long enough to let them bloom. This is where most people live, in that gap between desire and design. They have the will, but not the architecture. They have goals written on paper, but not encoded in action. They start strong, because starting is easy. Starting feels exciting. But they fade because continuation requires systems. Continuation requires rhythm, and rhythm requires order. And in the absence of order, even the most powerful intention loses steam. You can have the heart of a lion, but without a path beneath your feet, you will circle in the same place. Why do people stay stuck here? Not because they are lazy, not because they lack desire, but because they are addicted to intensity and allergic to consistency. They chase big wins, but neglect small systems. They want transformation, but reject repetition. Because repetition feels boring. Repetition feels slow. And yet, repetition is the gateway to mastery. It is not what you do once that changes your life. It is what you do daily, without fanfare, that shapes your destiny. People often confuse effort with progress, but they are not the same. Effort is how much you push. Progress is how far you go. Aim and running in circles may burn more calories than the one walking in a straight line. But one moves forward, the other simply moves. And that is the quiet tragedy of the unstructured life. You feel tired, but not transformed. You feel busy, but not built. You feel like you are trying but nothing sticks. And it breaks your confidence. Not because you are weak, but because you are unassured. So what is the shift? The shift begins when you stop asking, "What should I do?" and start asking, "What system will do this for me?" Builders think in patterns, not just plans. They do not just wake up motivated. They wake up inside a machine they created. Their habits are not decisions, they are defaults. Their growth is not random, it is routine. They do not hope for results. They engineer them. Because they know that without a system, even the best intentions scatter in the wind. I remember when I first discovered this truth. I was trying to change my life through sheer willpower. I set goals. I declared new habits. I told everyone I was becoming better. And for a few days I was. But then life got busy. My energy dipped. My focus faded. And everything I had built crumbled. Again. That was the moment I saw it clearly. I did not need more energy. I needed more structure. So I did something different. I stopped trying to stay motivated. Instead, I built a daily flow that carried me even when I felt low. A routine that took over when inspiration failed. And that changed everything. Systems are the hidden engines behind every life that works. The athlete does not succeed just because of talent, but because of training structure. The artist does not create brilliance only by emotion, but by ritual. The entrepreneur does not scale by passion alone, but by process. Every great life has rhythm beneath it. And that rhythm is designed. You do not find it. You build it. You do not wait for it. You install it. That is what this chapter invites you to do. Start small. Do not try to fix everything. Systems are not about perfection. They are about predictability. Begin by identifying the friction points in your day, the moments where energy drains, decisions pile up, focus fades. And then build guardrails. Build defaults. Build rules that make success the path of least resistance. You should not wake up each day wondering what matters. Your system should tell you. Your schedule should reflect your values. Your structure should serve your vision. I want you to imagine your life like a garden. You can plant all the seeds you want, but without fences, the weeds will choke them. Without sunlight, they will never rise. Without routine watering, they will die dry. Your system is the fence, the water, the light. It is what holds your future safe. It is what ensures your growth is not a fluke but a flow. You cannot control the weather, but you can control your garden. That is the power of design. As you begin to build your own system, remember this: simplicity wins. Complexity collapses under stress. Your structure must be strong enough to work on bad days, not just good ones. It must survive your moods, your doubts, your laziness. A good system does not rely on you being your best. It works even when you are not. That is how you build something sustainable. That is how you grow without burning out. So today, take a step. Not a grand one. Just one. Choose one part of your day, your morning, your work rhythm, your sleep, and ask, what system can I build here? Then design it. Test it. Repeat it. Let it carry you. Because every system you build is a promise to your future. A silent contract that says, I will not leave you to chance. When you live by systems, you stop living by stress. When you structure your time, you secure your energy. And when you repeat what works, your future stops being a wish and starts becoming a guarantee. Chapter 2. The Invisible Blueprint. It always begins the same way. A dream takes shape in your heart. A better life. A higher version of yourself. A vision so vivid it makes your hands tremble with anticipation. You feel the fire, the calling, the unshakable pull of potential. So you begin with courage, with commitment, with clarity. But somewhere along the way, it fades. Not all at once. Slowly. Silently. You start skipping the habits. You lose the rhythm. You feel unsure again. You doubt. You drift. And one day you look up and wonder, how did I end up back here? This is the pain no one talks about, not failure, but the loop. The cycle of beginning again and again and again. It is not the absence of ambition that breaks a person. It is the exhaustion of repetition without results. Starting over begins to feel like identity. You tell yourself you are just someone who needs to reset often, who thrives in sprints. But the truth is, no one can thrive while living without foundation. The energy you waste stray minus building is energy that could be compounding. That could be growing. That could be freeing you. The problem is not you. The problem is you have been taught to aim high without building low. To set goals without setting anchors. You have been handed vision boards and motivational quotes, but never the invisible blueprint, the structure beneath every successful life. You see the results people post, the highlights they share, the milestones they celebrate. But you do not see the machinery behind the curtain. The systems that remove friction. The rituals that stabilize performance. The environments that shape behavior. What you do not see is what makes their success look effortless. Most of what makes success feel easy is hidden. It is not in the dramatic gestures. It is in the consistent patterns. The email you write every morning before distractions hit. The journal you open to realign your thoughts. The calendar block that protects your deep work. The rule that phones go away at 8 p.m. These are not glamorous. They are not loud. But they create momentum. They make energy predictable. They allow your brain to focus on execution, not decision. And in time, they form the invisible blueprint that carries you forward. Why do people ignore this? Because structure feels slow. Structure feels limiting. We want freedom. We want spontaneity. We want to follow our energy. But this is the trap. Without structure, freedom becomes chaos. You get to do anything but end up doing nothing. Your time slips through cracks you did not know existed. You spend your days reacting instead of creating. You fight fires instead of forging your path. And over time, your confidence erodes not because you are incapable, but because your life is unprotected. Think of a river. When water flows without boundaries, it floods. It spreads thin, covers everything, but moves nothing. But when the river is channeled, when it has banks, depth, and direction, it becomes power. It shapes valleys. It turns turbines. It becomes unstoppable. Your potential is the same. It is not supposed to spill everywhere. It is supposed to be guided, directed, designed. That is not the enemy of freedom. That is the source of it. So what is in this invisible blueprint? There are 5 pillars that silently shape your day's intention, rhythm, focus, environment, and review. These are the gears that turn the system. Intention is where you clarify what matters most. Rhythm is how you embed those values into time. Focus is how you protect what matters from distraction. Environment is how you shape your space to support your goals. Review is how you reconnect and refine. When these are installed properly, growth becomes your default. Let us start with intention. Most people live reactively. They wake up and check the world before they check their purpose. They chase tasks, not transformation. Intention means deciding every day what your life is about. What will matter when the sun sets? What will move your future forward? When you begin with this question, your schedule begins to reflect your soul, not your stress. You stop saying yes to everything. You stop treating every request like an emergency. You protect your time like it matters because it does. Then comes rhythm. This is where many people falter. They think in goals but not in flows. A goal is a destination. Rhythm is the vehicle. Without it, your dreams stay distant. Rhythm means designing repeatable actions that happen no matter how you feel. This is the heartbeat of the system. The morning routine that centers you. The weekly review that resets you. The blocked hours that guard your deep work. The Sunday night planning that sets the tone. When rhythm is established, effort becomes easier. You stop relying on discipline and start moving on momentum. Focus is the third pillar. The modern world is built to steal your attention. Every app, every screen, every notification is designed to fracture your mind. If you do not design for focus, you will live in distraction. That means having rules. No screens in the first hour. No meetings before deep work. Phone on airplane mode. A quiet space for creative tasks. These are not rigid. They are respectful of your future, your energy, your purpose. Protecting your focus is not a limitation. It is an act of self minus respect. The fourth pillar is environment. You become what surrounds you. The people, the sounds, the layout, the lighting, all of it speaks to your nervous system. If your space is cluttered, your mind will be. If your phone is always near, your mind will be elsewhere. Build a space that supports your identity. A desk that signals work. A corner that invites reflection. A home that whispers clarity, not chaos. You cannot always control your circumstances. But you can design your environment to pull you toward who you want to become. Lastly, review. This is where course correction happens. Without review, your system will drift. Every week, every month, you must pause and ask what is working. What is draining me? What needs to be adjusted? Review turns your system into a living organism. It grows with you. It listens to your life. It evolves. And that is the final secret. A system is not static. It is alive. It must breathe. You are not building a prison. You are building a path. One that can shift with seasons, scale with success, and serve your soul. When these 5 pillars are installed, your life begins to hum with a quiet power. Days feel lighter. Choices become easier. Progress becomes inevitable. Not because you are trying harder, but because you are flowing in alignment. This is what it means to see your future grow effortlessly. It does not mean you never work. It means the work works. It means your life has been designed to deliver your destiny. You do not need to guess anymore. You do not need to force. You do not need to start over. You just need to build the system. And once you do, the system will build you. Chapter 3. The Architecture of Automation. There is a certain peace that enters your life when you no longer depend on motivation. A stillness that replaces the inner chaos. You no longer wake up negotiating with your goals. You no longer argue with yourself about what to do next. You do not search for the feeling to begin, you simply begin. Because it is in the system. Because the system has made it automatic. That is the architecture of automation, not the removal of effort, but the removal of doubt. And once you taste it, you never want to live any other way. I want you to remember this truth: human beings do not rise to the level of their dreams. They fall to the level of their systems. You can have the vision of a kingdom, but if your days are run by impulses, you will never build the throne. The gap between knowing and becoming is not closed by more inspiration. It is closed by more structure. You do not need more energy. You need more automation. You need your future embedded in your present actions so deeply that you no longer need to remember it because your system remembers for you. Think about brushing your teeth. You do not need to feel inspired. You do not need a reminder from a podcast or a pep talk from a friend. You just do it. Why? Because it is automated. It is embedded. And because of that, your health benefits consistently. What if your work, your relationships, your energy, your focus, what if all of them could benefit from the same kind of automation? What if success was not something you fought for, but something your system generated? The first step in this kind of automation is to stop depending on discipline. Discipline is powerful, yes, but it is fragile when isolated. On its own, it wears down. It becomes another weight you carry. But when discipline is used to install systems, it multiplies. A single decision like deciding that every morning you write for 30 minutes, or that your phone goes off at 9 p.m. That decision, once installed, no longer requires energy. The system handles it. The friction vanishes. You stop relying on willpower. You start relying on design. Design is the quiet architect behind every powerful habit. It is the difference between deciding to eat healthy and designing your kitchen so unhealthy food is not even visible. It is the difference between saying you want to focus and removing every distraction from your workspace. Design is not about forcing behavior. It is about making the desired behavior easy, obvious, and inevitable. If your system makes success feel heavy, it is not a good system. The right design does not add pressure. It removes it. Let me show you how this works in real life. A man I once coached was always overwhelmed. He had massive goals. He wanted to write a book, build a business, deepen his relationships, transform his health. But every time he tried, life would interrupt. He felt like he was fighting fires. So we did not talk about motivation. We talked about automation. We designed a system that made space for what mattered. We built daily flows, time blocks, rules for tech, rituals for recovery. Within 3 months, he felt peace for the first time in years. Not because he was doing less, but because now everything had a place. His life had rhythm. His goals had structure. Automation begins with understanding friction. Most people try to change habits by adding effort. But the smarter path is to reduce friction. Do not make the new behavior harder. Make it easier. Make it the path of least resistance. Want to write more? Put your journal in the spot where you drink coffee. Want to exercise more? Lay your clothes out the night before. Want to reflect every evening? Set a calendar reminder that interrupts the noise. Tiny changes in environment create massive changes in behavior. But automation is not just about what you do. It is also about what you eliminate. Subtraction is power. Remove the options that hurt your focus. Remove the decisions that drain your energy. Close the doors that do not lead to your future. Every yes you say has a cost. And most people stay stuck not because they lack opportunity but because they are drowning in options. The system you build must filter what matters from what merely feels urgent. The most successful people are not the busiest. They are the most automated. Their systems protect them. Their boundaries hold them. Their time is aligned with their outcomes. And that is not a result of luck. It is the result of ruthless clarity. They do not try to control everything. They control the essentials. And then they let the system do the rest. Now, let me challenge you. What in your life right now could be automated? What do you repeat every week that could be streamlined? What tasks could be grouped? What distractions could be blocked at the source? You do not need a complicated app. You do not need a 20-step planner. You need a set of repeatable patterns that protect your purpose. And once those patterns are installed, they will carry you. Not perfectly, but powerfully. There is a line where effort ends and design begins. You still show up. You still do the work. But the struggle disappears. Because the decision has already been made. Because the behavior has been simplified. Because the environment has been shaped. That is the invisible current of automation. It pulls you forward even when your energy dips. It keeps your vision alive when motivation is gone. It carries your future with quiet strength. Imagine waking up and knowing your first hour is sacred. Your focus is protected. Your health is supported. Your relationships are nurtured. Not because you forced it every day, but because you designed it once and the system sustains it. This is the freedom automation gives you. The ability to live on purpose without burning out. The ability to grow effortlessly, not because you are exceptional, but because your system is. Do not wait to feel ready. Build the structure now. Automate your excellence. Let your future grow not by force but by flow. Chapter 4. Energy is not infinite, systems are. There is a sacred energy within you. A flame that fuels your ambition, creativity, clarity, and connection. But that flame is not infinite. It must be protected. And yet most people burn it recklessly, giving it to everything and everyone, draining it through decisions, distractions, and disordered days. They try to do it all. They wake up already behind, chase urgency instead of priority, and go to sleep wondering where the time went. They are not lazy. They are leaking. Their energy is not the problem. Their system is. You must understand this if you want to live an elevated life. Your energy is your edge. It is your currency. When your energy is low, your mind is foggy, your standards drop, your vision fades. The quality of your life is not just determined by what you do, but by the state in which you do it. And if your system does not protect and renew your energy, it will eventually destroy your capacity to perform. The most successful lives are not driven by constant hustle. They are supported by sacred systems that regenerate energy as they build results. I once worked with a woman who had every skill imaginable. Sharp, driven, organized, and deeply committed to her work and her family. But she was always on the edge of burnout. Her days were packed. Her calendar was a war zone of back obligations. Every moment was spoken for except the moment she needed for herself. Her energy was fractured not because she was weak, but because her life had no rhythm of recovery. She had structure, yes, but no sanctuary. She had plans, but no pause. Her system had become a machine, not a garden. And it was draining her. Energy management is not a luxury. It is not optional. It is the foundation. Because what you do in a peak state takes half the time and produces double the result. And what you try to do in a depleted state feels like dragging yourself through sand. So if you truly care about your future, you must design your life to serve your state. Your rituals must refuel you. Your environment must elevate you. Your rhythm must include rest as a strategic asset, not a reward for exhaustion, but a ritual of expansion. The modern world praises the grind. It celebrates late nights, endless hustle, no days off. But that narrative is broken. It creates hollow victories. It builds external success and internal emptiness. You are not a robot. You are a living system, and all living systems need cycles. Day and night. Tension and release. Creation and recovery. You cannot bypass this law. You can only violate it for so long before it collects its price. And when it does, it will not just take your energy. It will take your joy, your clarity, your soul. So, what does an energy minus-centered system look like? It begins with presence. The ability to be fully here, not scattered across 1,000 tasks. Presence multiplies energy because it aligns your attention. You must design your environment to reduce noise. Put your phone in another room. Shut down open tabs. Close your door. Give yourself one space in the day that is undisturbed. Even 30 minutes of true presence can reset your nervous system and give you back hours of effectiveness. Then comes recovery. This is where most high achievers fail. They think rest is weakness. They believe slowing down is falling behind. But the truth is, rest is the engine of resilience. You must schedule it like you schedule work. Morning stillness. Midday breath. Evening decompression. Weekly reflection. These are not extras, they are essentials. A system without recovery is a system designed to break. So build your pauses. Do not apologize for them. They're not breaks from the work. They are part of the work. Another powerful lever of energy is alignment. When your actions match your values, energy flows. When they do not, energy leaks. Many people feel tired not because of effort, but because of emotional conflict. They are saying yes when they mean no. They are spending time in places that dishonor their truth. They are trapped in obligations instead of anchored in intention. Your system must reflect your soul. If it does not, you will eventually reject it. Design your life around what matters, not what is loud, but what is true. There is also the element of fuel. Not just food, though that matters, but what you consume in every form. Your thoughts, your inputs, your conversations, your media, your stories. If your mind is filled with noise, it cannot generate clarity. You must guard your mental environment. Limit toxic inputs. Fill your space with what feeds you. Books that lift. Conversations that sharpen. Moments of silence that return you to center. You are always becoming what you absorb. Make sure your system feeds you well. The final layer is movement. Energy is not just protected, it is produced. Through breath, through action, through movement. Do not wait to feel energized. Move your body, and the energy will come. Design your days to include motion. I walk after work. Stretching in the morning. Light movement between sessions. This is not fitness advice. This is energy strategy. Stagnation drains. Motion restores. A system that keeps you physically still for too long will eventually make your mind stagnant too. What emerges when all these pieces are in place is not just productivity but vitality. You begin to feel light again. You wake up with clarity. You move through your day with focus. You end your day with peace instead of depletion. That is the power of an energy-centered system. It gives you your life back. It gives you your soul back. You stop surviving your schedule and start savoring your time. So ask yourself, where am I leaking energy? What routines do not serve me? What obligations drain me? What rituals renew me? Then begin designing around those answers. Your energy is sacred. Do not waste it on systems that sabotage you. Build a structure that supports your light. Because when your energy is protected, your future is unstoppable. Not because you have more hours, but because you have more life in each hour. Chapter 5. Design the day, dominate the destiny. There is a silent force shaping your entire life. It is not fate. It is not luck. It is not even your talent. It is how you design your days. The structure of your average day reveals the trajectory of your entire future. Because what you do consistently, without applause, without pressure, without anyone watching, that is what determines who you become. You cannot escape it. You are not your intentions. You are your systems. And your system begins every single morning. Most people design their days by default. They wake up reactive. They respond to messages. They check what the world wants before they check what they want. And from the first moment, they hand their agenda to chaos. They think the day is running them, but they built that pattern, that reaction, that exhaustion. It did not happen to them. It was allowed. And what is allowed continues. Until they decide deeply, fiercely, finally to design differently. I met a man who ran a successful business, had a beautiful family, and yet carried a constant heaviness. He told me I do everything right, but I still feel like I am drowning. I asked him to walk me through his average day, from wake minus up to bedtime. And there it was, not one thing was his. Every hour was a transaction. Meetings, messages, expectations, noise. His life looked full, but none of it was built with intention. So he started not with strategy, but with sovereignty. He took back his morning. He reclaimed his evening. He began to insert sacred structure into ordinary hours. And within weeks, the fog lifted. He was still busy. But now he was anchored. And in that shift, he became alive again. This is the heart of the system, the day. Not the week. Not the months. The day. Because the day is the only unit of time you truly live in. You do not live your goals in years. You live them in 20-4 hours. So if you can win the day, you can win your destiny. And winning the day begins with owning the beginning. Your morning is your foundation. It is the thermostat of your mind. It sets your emotional tone, your mental clarity, and your spiritual energy. If you begin in noise, you carry noise. If you begin in stillness, you carry peace. That is why the system must start with a sacred morning flow. One that grounds you. One that centers you. One that reminds you who you are and what you are building. This is not about perfection. It is about protection from the chaos of the world, from the pull of the urgent, from the lies that say you are behind. A powerful morning does not need to be long. It needs to be consistent. 10 minutes of silence. 5 minutes of breath. A moment of clarity where you look at your plan and say, this is mine. This matters. I am not drifting today. That one decision can redirect your entire life. Because once you start owning your morning, you start choosing your energy. You stop negotiating with your excuses. You begin each day as a creator, not a reactor. Then comes the architecture of your hours. Most people fill their calendars with tasks, but never consider the flow. They pile things back minus to minus back. They treat every hour the same. But all time is not equal. Some hours are golden. Some are garbage. Some demand depth. Some require recovery. The system must reflect this. You must identify your peak creative window when your energy is highest, your mind is sharpest. That is sacred time. That is where your deep work belongs. Do not waste it on emails. Do not dilute it with meetings. Guard it like your future depends on it. Because it does. The rest of your day must support that peak. That means space between tasks. It means transitions that reset your focus. It means meals that fuel you, not fog you. It means boundaries around technology, so your attention does not fragment. It means rituals between roles so the stress of one part of your day does not bleed into the next. The system is not rigid. It is rhythmic. It flows like music. But the structure must be deliberate. Because if you do not design your day, distraction will. Your evening is the final piece. Most people collapse into the night. They scroll, they binge, they numb. They say they are resting, but they are actually escaping. A powerful system ends the day with intention. Not just to wind down, but to close the loop. Reflection. Gratitude. Planning for tomorrow. This is where peace is restored. This is where the mind unclenches. This is where sleep becomes sacred again. Your evening must be a runway, not a crash site. And when you design it with care, you wake up with clarity. Let me be clear, none of this is about productivity for the sake of productivity. It is about power. The quiet, rooted power of a life lived on purpose. It is about reducing the friction that drains you. About multiplying the focus that drives you. About designing days that carry your calling, not bury it. You do not need a perfect routine. You need a system that respects your energy, honors your values, and reflects your vision. That begins with the day. Design one day well. Then repeat. Let the system carry you until the design becomes identity. Remember, destiny is not something you chase. It is something you design one day at a time until it becomes who you are. Chapter 6. From decision fatigue to clarity flow. Every day you wake up with a limited reservoir of clarity. A finite supply of clean, sharp mental energy that determines the quality of your choices. It is invisible, but its effects are everywhere. In how you speak. In what you prioritize. In what you avoid. And whether you push forward or postpone. This energy, your decision minus making clarity, is either spent wisely through design or wasted through disorganization. And most people lose theirs before they even finish breakfast. The truth is, every choice costs you something. What to wear. What to eat. What to respond to first. Where to focus. When to stop. Each little question chips away at your clarity until the day becomes heavier and heavier. And by the afternoon, you are running on fumes. This is not laziness. This is decision fatigue. And it is the silent killer of consistency, focus, and long-term vision. But it does not have to be this way. You can design your life to protect clarity. You can create a system so precise, so rhythmically sound, that your best choices are already made. That your highest outcomes are built into the structure of your day, not left to the mercy of your mood. That is not rigidity. That is freedom. That is how the masters live, not by making more decisions, but by making fewer and better ones. I remember working with a leader who was drowning in decisions. He was talented, wise, highly respected, but exhausted. Every day was a mental storm. Endless choices, endless interruptions, endless need to pivot. He said, "I feel like I'm living 10 days in one," so we redesigned everything. We eliminated the need to decide what to eat, when to meet, where to work, and how to spend the first 2 hours of the day. We implemented rules. We created defaults. Within weeks, he was sharper, calmer, more present. Not because life became easier, but because it became cleaner. This is the essence of clarity flow, removing the need to constantly decide by building environments and rituals that decide for you. When to focus. When to rest. What matters most. Who gets your attention. What is not your responsibility. These are not things you should figure out daily. These should be installed in your system the same way you install a strong foundation in a home. Once they are set, you do not evaluate every time it rains. You trust them to hold. Let us begin with one of the most powerful tools for reducing decision fatigue, the rule of default. A default is a pre-made decision that guides your future behavior. It is not based on emotion. It is not negotiable. It is already done. For example, you decide once and for all that the first hour of your day is for deep work. That your phone stays off until after your morning routine. That lunch is a salad and a journal, not a screen and chaos. These decisions, once made, remove hundreds of decisions. And each one you eliminate gives you clarity back. Another powerful layer is the rhythm of batching. Instead of scattering your energy across 20 contexts a day, you group similar tasks. You batch meetings in one part of the week. You batch email at 2 specific times daily. You batch errands into one afternoon. This reduces cognitive switching, the exhausting process of shifting mental gears. When you stay in one lane longer, your focus deepens. Your clarity compounds. Your stress disappears. Templates are also sacred. Most people start from scratch too often. A system builder creates templates for everything repeatable. Weekly planning. Daily journaling. Email responses. Client workflows. Thinking about the process again and again burns clarity. So you design it once and then you just run the script. Like a master chef who follows a recipe not because he cannot cook, but because it preserves consistency and reduces waste. Boundaries are another form of clarity design. Not just boundaries with people, but boundaries with time, tech, and thoughts. Your calendar must not be a democracy. It must reflect your priorities. That means saying no to invitations that dilute your focus. That means protecting time blocks like they are gold. That means having rules for social media when it enters your day, and more importantly, when it does not. Without these boundaries, clarity is constantly stolen. You think you are managing your life, but in reality, your life is managing you. Let me speak to your inner creator. Your deepest work cannot survive without clarity. Whether you are building a business, writing a book, leading a team, or simply trying to raise a family with grace, you need mental space. You need breathing room. A foggy mind cannot birth brilliance. A cluttered day cannot carry depth. So you must fight for clarity. Not just in crisis, but in design. Every ritual that clears your mind is sacred. Every habit that anchors your focus is holy. This is why I say clutter is the enemy of destiny. Cluttered schedules, cluttered homes, cluttered minds, they all dilute your power. Simplicity is not just beautiful. It is strategic. Your system must simplify, streamline, and subtract. What you remove is just as important as what you add. And sometimes the single most powerful act is deleting a task, canceling a meeting, saying no to a commitment that no longer aligns. That is not quitting. That is clarity in motion. You may be thinking, this sounds like discipline. And yes, it is. But it is a different kind of discipline. Not the kind that grits its teeth. The kind that breathes easier. The kind that says, I have already decided who I am, and I have designed my life to honor that. This is the discipline of alignment, of peace, of flow. What would your life feel like if you made 80% fewer decisions each day, but every decision you did make was powerful, intentional, and clear? That is what happens when your system holds you. When your day is designed, not guessed. When you stop asking, what should I do next? Because the answer is already built into your life. You deserve that clarity. You were not born to live in a fog of constant friction. You were born to create with purpose, to lead with peace, to move through your life with confidence and command. That begins not with another tool, but with a better system. Design the flow. Defend the clarity. Decide once and let that decision shape every day forward. Chapter 7. Habits that hold you when you fall. There will come a day when your fire fades. When the excitement is gone. When your willpower dries up and your goals feel distant, even pointless. You will wake up and not feel like doing anything that once lit you up. Your mind will whisper lies that you are not who you thought you were, that it is all too much, that maybe this dream is not for you. And in that moment, what saves you is not inspiration. What saves you is your system. The illusion we are sold is that high performers feel motivated all the time. They do not. They simply build habits that hold them when they fall. Habits so embedded, so designed into the structure of their lives, that they carry forward even when the spirit is low. It is not discipline that makes the difference. It is design. It is automation. It is the ability to keep showing up without negotiating with yourself every single day. I remember the darkest season of my own journey. I had built a life I was proud of, but under the surface I was slipping. My mornings grew later. My clarity grew dim. I could not feel the edge I once had. But I had systems. I had rituals. I had habits that did not require my best self, they only required my next step. And because they were there, I kept moving. I did not grow quickly in that season, but I did not stop. And in not stopping, I survived. And in surviving, I found my rhythm again. This is why we build systems not for the good days, but for the hard ones. Anyone can perform when they feel on fire. It is who you become when the flame is out that defines your future. And what keeps you from falling into the abyss is the scaffolding you build while the sun still shines. Your habits must be rooted deeper than your emotions. Because emotions are weather. They change. They storm. They shift. But systems are climate. They hold steady. They sustain life through the storm. That is what we are building here, not hacks, not routines, but a climate of consistency. Let us speak plainly, you will fall. You will miss days. You will lose focus. You will question your path. But if your habits are deeply embedded, if your environment makes the right action easier than the wrong one, then your fallback is still forward. You may slide, but you will not sink. You may pause, but you will not vanish. Because your life is no longer held together by hype. It is held together by habits. What do these habits look like? They are not flashy. They are often invisible. But they are sacred. A 5-minute journal every morning that reconnects you to your vision. A shutdown ritual at the end of each workday that clears your mind and releases tension. A short walk that resets your nervous system. A water bottle always full. A phone always off during creative time. These things do not look powerful until you remove them. And then you see how much they anchored your day. The key is not variety. The key is depth. Do not chase 10 new habits every month. Choose a few that align with your identity and build them into the bones of your life. They should happen whether you feel like it or not. They should happen whether it is raining or sunny, Monday or Sunday, inspired or drained. That is when a habit becomes a system. When it no longer asks you for permission. When it no longer waits for your emotion. It simply lives. You can begin right now. Start with the non-negotiable less. What are the 2 or 3 behaviors that, when you do them, everything else flows better? Maybe it is movement. Maybe it is silence. Maybe it is planning the day the night before. Whatever they are, protect them. Build them into your mornings. Automate them into your schedule. Let your calendar reflect your commitment, not your convenience. And then attach those habits to identity. Do not just say, I meditate. Say, I am a person who protects my inner peace. Do not just say, I write. Say, I am a builder of clarity and thought. This matters. Because when habits become identity, they do not fade when life gets hard. They become your compass. Your anchor. Your way back. One of the greatest lies is that habits should be effortless. They will not be. But they can be automatic. They can be simple. They can be so tied to your routine that skipping them feels strange. That is the real goal, not perfection, but pattern. Not performance, but presence. Understand this: you are not always building. Sometimes you are just maintaining. Sometimes you are just protecting the line. But every time you show up, even if it is a small showing, you build a life that can survive the storm. And that is where the real strength lies. Not in how high you climb, but in how steady you remain. Your system is not there to impress others. It is there to protect your future, to remind you who you are when you forget, to give you rhythm when your soul is offbeat, to guide your hands when your heart is tired. So today, review your habits, strengthen them, simplify them, anchor them in who you are becoming. Because one day, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, the fire will flicker. And when it does, you will be ready. Because you have built a life that holds. And when your system holds, your future stands no matter what tries to shake it. Chapter 8. The compound power of tiny consistencies. There is a force in this world more powerful than ambition, more transformative than vision, more enduring than talent. It is consistency. Not the loud, dramatic kind. Not the kind that needs applause or announcement. But the quiet kind. The kind that moves in shadows. The kind that no one sees but everyone feels when the harvest arrives. You do not need to do more. You need to repeat better. You need to identify the few actions that move your life forward and do them again and again, until they are no longer actions but identity. Until they stop being effort and start being breath. This is the compound power of tiny consistencies. And it is where all unstoppable growth is born. Most people wait for intensity. They wait for the surge of energy, the moment of clarity, the wave of inspiration. But intensity fades. It always does. You get tired. You get distracted. Life interrupts. And what you built with fire collapses in silence. Because the foundation was emotion, not system. The roots were shallow. The structure could not stand. Consistency does not rely on emotion. It does not ask how you feel. It simply shows up. Day after day. Drip after drip. And that is how it grows, not through eruption, but through repetition. Not through passion, but through rhythm. The strongest tree is not the one that grows the fastest. It is the one that grows every day, no matter the weather. You might think your small actions do not matter. That 5 minutes of writing, or a walk around the block, or choosing silence instead of scrolling is too insignificant to count. But here is the truth: every consistent action compounds. Every repetition stacks. It is not just about what the action accomplishes today. It is about what it installs into your future. Let me show you how this works. I knew a man who wanted to transform his health, but he was overwhelmed. So many rules. So many workouts. So much pressure. He had tried before intense diets, brutal routines, and always failed. So I asked him to start with something absurdly small. 1 push-up every day. That is all. Just 1. At first, it felt ridiculous. But he did it. Every day. No exceptions. After 2 weeks, he did 5. Then 10. Then added stretching. Then a walk. Within 3 months, his entire identity shifted, not because of one intense effort, but because of tiny consistencies that reprogrammed his rhythm. That is the secret. Most people miss. Habits are not built by volume. They are built by frequency. By frictionless repetition. Your brain is not impressed by how big your effort is. It learns through what is familiar. And when you do something again and again, even if it is small, your brain begins to say, "This is who we are now." Think of a river cutting through rock. It does not do it through power. It does it through persistence. It returns again and again and again until the impossible becomes inevitable. That is the system we are building, one where your future is shaped by daily devotion, not occasional intensity. So, how do you make this real? Start by identifying your keystone consistency, the one action that, when done daily, lifts everything else. Maybe it is writing. Maybe it is prayer. Maybe it is movement. Whatever it is, commit to it daily, no matter how small. Anchor it to a time. Tie it to a place. Make it so frictionless that you cannot fail. Next, track it. Not for pressure, for awareness. Put an X on the calendar. See the chain grow. Let the visual reminder become part of your identity. I am someone who shows up, not someone who gets it perfect. Just someone who shows up. And when you miss a day, not if, but when you return without shame. You do not let the break become the new habit. You do not spiral. You simply begin again. Because beginning again is part of the system. And then, as your consistencies grow, you stack them. Slowly. Intentionally. You do not add 10 things at once. You build like a craftsman. One brick at a time. One layer of rhythm at a time. Until the day feels held. Until your future feels inevitable. Until success is no longer a goal, but a byproduct of who you have become. This is what it means to live in alignment with the system. You trust the small. You respect the ordinary. You honor the invisible. Because you know that consistency compounds. You know that 5 minutes daily is more powerful than 5 hours monthly. You know that the habits you repeat will eventually build a future you cannot yet see, but you will walk into it one step at a time. Let me speak to the voice in you that doubts this. The part that says, it is not enough, that wants to go faster, bigger, louder. I understand. But that voice is lying. Because slow does not mean weak. It means sustainable. Small does not mean insignificant. It means controllable. When the world is noisy, the ones who win are not the loudest, they are the most consistent. Your system does not need to be perfect. It needs to be practiced. Over and over. Until it becomes who you are. Until one day you wake up and realize you are living the future you once only dreamed of, not because of one massive breakthrough, but because you honored the tiny things that most people ignore. So look at your life. What are your tiny consistencies? Where do you need to begin again? Where do you need to simplify? Strip away the complexity. Find the rhythm. Trust the process. And never underestimate the power of showing up. Because consistency, compounded over time, becomes the most unstoppable force in your life. Chapter 9. Eliminate the noise, elevate the signal. Every system breaks when surrounded by noise. Noise steals clarity. It fractures focus. It multiplies confusion. And in this modern age, noise is not an accident, it is a business. It is engineered. It is built to distract, to addict, to interrupt the very life you are trying to design. The question is not whether the noise exists. The question is whether your system is strong enough to rise above it. Because without conscious design, you will not live your life, you will scroll through someone else's. Noise is not just sound. It is everything that pulls you away from purpose. The constant ping of a notification. The anxiety hidden in comparison. The urgency of unimportant tasks. The meetings that mean nothing. The apps that demand everything. It is not that people do not know what to do. It is that they cannot hear their own soul over the volume of everything else. You wake up in the morning and before your feet hit the floor, you are already plugged in. Your hand reaches for the phone. Your eyes scan headlines. Your mind absorbs other people's agendas. And just like that, your energy is hijacked. Your mind begins to spiral. Not forward but outward. Pulled in a dozen directions before your own voice even has a chance to speak. A system that does not defend you from noise will never deliver peace. No matter how good your intentions are. No matter how clear your goals. If you are surrounded by digital chaos and emotional static, your best self will be buried under noise. That is not failure. That is physics. Your attention cannot multiply when it is constantly divided. I once worked with a creative visionary. Brilliant mind. Extraordinary ideas. But he could not finish anything. His projects would start on fire and end in silence. I asked him about his environment. He listed 17 apps he used daily. Dozens of tabs always open. A constant hum of digital traffic in his workspace. No silence. No sanctuary. So we began stripping it all back. One app gone. One rule installed. One screen removed. Until there was room to think again. Within weeks, his mind returned. And for the first time in years, he finished what he started. That is what noise does. It does not just waste time. It steals your ability to access deep thought. And without deep thought, there is no deep creation. No deep presence. No deep joy. You skim life. You skim yourself. And the tragedy is you believe you are just overwhelmed when in fact, you are just overconnected. So how do you build a system that elevates the signal and eliminates the noise? You begin with subtraction. You begin by saying, this no longer belongs in my space, not because it is evil, but because it is excess. You do not need every notification. You do not need every app. You do not need to know what everyone thinks every minute. What you need is space to listen, to breathe, to build. Start by designing your digital perimeter. Set rules. No phone before a certain hour. No screens after a certain hour. One inbox. One calendar. One task manager. Simplicity is not minimalism, it is mastery. If you have to check 8 places to know what to do today, you are already behind. Consolidate. Streamline. Choose clarity over control. Then protect your creative zones. Block time for deep work. And when that time comes, shut the door. Mute the world. This is not about being anti-social. It is about being pro-focus. The world does not need more noise. It needs your full presence, your highest work, your undivided depth. And that only comes when the signal is louder than the static. Your physical environment matters too. Clutter is not just visual. It is emotional. It whispers you have not finished. It says you are behind. Your desk, your walls, your workspace, let them breathe. Remove what distracts. Keep only what serves your focus. What is visible shapes what is possible. But more than anything, you must examine the mental noise. The inner chatter. The loop of self minus doubt, the narrative of never enough, the addiction to urgency. This is the deepest noise. And your system must speak louder. Through rituals. Through reflection. Through identity anchoring. You must remind yourself daily, I do not chase chaos. I am designed for clarity. And that clarity must guide your time. Every minute you spend is either moving you toward your vision or pulling you away. That is not pressure, that is permission. Permission to stop saying yes to everything. Permission to escape the guilt of not replying instantly. Permission to be unavailable to the things that drain you, unfully present to the few things that grow you. Your future will not be built by doing more. It will be built by hearing more clearly. By tuning into what truly matters. By removing the layers of digital fog and finding the sharp, quiet signal of your soul's direction. That signal is already there. Beneath the scroll. Beneath the noise. Beneath the opinions. But you must get quiet enough to hear it. And bold enough to follow it. So today, look around. What can you subtract? What can you silence? What rules will you write to protect your clarity? Do not wait for motivation. Do not wait for balance. Build the boundaries now. Let your system speak louder than the world. Let your design create the space where your destiny can finally rise. Because when the noise dies down, the signal gets stronger. And when the signal gets stronger, your life begins to make sense again. Chapter 10. Protect the asset, preserve the mission. There is one thing in your life more important than your goals, more critical than your vision, more foundational than your systems. That one thing is you. Your mind, your body, your peace, your ability to think clearly, move deliberately, and show up consistently. You are the asset. And if the asset breaks, the mission collapses. This is the truth. Few speak about. The system is only as strong as the person who sustains it. You can have the perfect plan, the flawless framework, the most elegant rituals. But if you are exhausted, depleted, sick, or scattered, it does not matter. The system will not carry you. Because the engine behind every process is the human running it. This is why self-minded care is not luxury. It is not indulgence. It is operational integrity. If you do not protect yourself, you are sabotaging the very future you are trying to build. And yet most people run themselves into the ground out of guilt, out of pressure, out of the false belief that exhaustion is evidence of excellence. But it is not. It is evidence of poor design. You are not born to burn out. You were born to build something that lasts. Something worthy of your presence. Something only you can give the world. But you cannot give that gift from an empty soul. You cannot lead with a burned minus-out brain. You cannot sustain momentum on fumes. And no amount of hustle will fix what your system continues to harm. I once met a CEO who built an empire, but was quietly falling apart. His company was thriving. His brand was strong. But his sleep was wrecked. His family barely saw him. His mind was frayed. He confessed one night, "I feel like I'm winning and dying at the same time." And he was. His system had elevated everything except him. So we rebuilt. Not the business. Not the team. The human. Sleep. Silence. Boundaries. Therapy. Long walks. Real food. And slowly, he returned. His clarity sharpened. His mood lifted. His presence came back. And as he healed, his system got stronger. You are the foundation. If the foundation is cracked, everything built on it is at risk. That is why your system must prioritize your restoration. It must create sacred rhythms of renewal. Not just productivity rituals, but protection rituals. Times where you unplug. Spaces where you do not perform. Moments where you simply exist, fully, deeply, quietly. Let us speak plainly. Fatigue is not always physical. It is oft unemotional, cognitive, existential. It is the weight of decision fatigue, the loneliness of unspoken stress, the burden of constant performance. And that kind of fatigue cannot be cured with caffeine or vacations. It must be designed out of your system. That means shorter work cycles, clear stop times, tech boundaries, time in nature, laughter, light, space to feel again. You need joy in your system. You need levity. You need unproductive hours because they are secretly the most productive of all. They restore your imagination. They reconnect you to your soul. They remind you that you are not a machine. You are a miracle. A living, breathing, feeling force of nature. And when you forget that, you begin to decay. Slowly. Silently. until one day your life looks successful but feels hollow. Do not wait for a breakdown to rebuild. Do not wait until your health collapses, your marriage cracks, or your mind screams. Build the protection now. Build the buffer. Build the boundary. You should not have to earn rest. You should not have to explain peace. If your life does not include space for stillness, it is a trap no matter how impressive it looks on the outside. This is not weakness. This is wisdom. The greatest performers in the world have recovery rituals so sacred, they are treated like contracts. Athletes have sleep routines more structured than their training. Artists have solitude carved into their calendar. Leaders have mentors, coaches, therapists because they know that without internal strength, external success will not sustain. So let me ask you, where in your life are you violating the asset? Where are you sacrificing yourself on the altar of productivity? Where have you traded your health for speed, your presence for progress? Do not judge it. Just see it. Awareness is the beginning of redesign. Then ask, what would it look like to protect the asset? Now, would it be clearer boundaries around work? Would it be a hard stop at 6 p.m.? Would it be a tech-free bedroom? A weekly Sabbath? A therapist? I walk in silence every morning? I rule that you do not explain your rest to anyone. Whatever it is, honor it. Build it into your system not as an exception, but as a rule. Because you are the one driving the vision. You are the one carrying the mission. You are the one whose presence makes the process possible. And you are worth protecting. Not just so you can perform, but so you can live. So you can feel light again. So you can wake up with joy, not just pressure. The world will take everything from you if you let it. So you must become fierce in your protection. You must become intentional in your design. You must become someone who refuses to sacrifice the human for the hustle. Your system is not just about outcomes. It is about wholeness. And when you protect the asset, you preserve the mission. Because the mission does not survive without you. Chapter 11. Install identity, not just action. There is a reason most systems fail. I reason why people set up perfect routines, flawless schedules, detailed habits and still collapse back into the same old patterns. It is not because the system was wrong. It is because their identity was untouched. They tried to act differently without becoming different. They upgraded their behaviors, but not their beliefs. They changed what they did, but not who they believed they were. You cannot outperform your identity. You will always return to the level of your self-minus concept. If you see yourself as disorganized, even the best planner will gather dust. If you believe you are inconsistent, your habits will eventually unravel. If you feel undeserving of peace, your calendar will always be overcrowded. This is the invisible ceiling, the internal thermostat. And until it shifts, nothing holds. This is why sustainable systems are built from identity, not effort. You do not just ask, what do I want to do? You ask, who do I want to be? Because when identity leads, action follows. Not with strain, but with congruence. When you see yourself as someone who honors time, you naturally protect your schedule. When you identify as a focused creator, you resist distraction. It is no longer about motivation. It is about alignment. I remember coaching a woman who wanted to become a morning person. She had tried everything: alarms, apps, accountability. Nothing stuck. So I asked her, what do you believe about mornings? She said, I am just not built for them. I am not the type. That was it. That belief had more power than any alarm clock. So we did not begin with action. We began with identity. She began saying out loud every night, "I am someone who rises early to rise above." At first it felt like a lie. But identity always does, until it does not. 3 weeks later, she was up before sunrise, not because she forced it, but because she finally saw herself that way. You must install a new identity into your system. That means deciding who you are becoming and embedding that decision into your language, your rituals, and your environment. It means speaking it out loud, not once, but until it becomes muscle memory. It means designing your system to reflect your future self, not your former self. Language is the first lever. Stop saying, "I am bad with time." Start saying, "I am learning to protect my time like treasure." Stop saying, "I always get distracted." Start saying, "I am someone who honors my focus." These are not affirmations. These are alignments. You are writing new software into your subconscious. And your subconscious listens. The next lever is evidence. Identity does not form through thought alone. It forms through repeated proof. So you must stack wins. Small wins. If you want to be someone who finishes what you start, then finish one tiny task today and celebrate it. That celebration tells your mind, "This is who we are now." Do it again tomorrow. And again the next day. Not to impress anyone, but to convince yourself. Because once you believe, behavior becomes inevitable. Then comes environment. Your space must reflect your new identity. If you are someone who creates, then your workspace should be sacred. Clean. Clear. Ready. If you are someone who rests well, your bedroom should whisper peace, not scream distraction. If you are someone who prioritizes wellness, your kitchen should not fight your goals. The visuals around you must mirror the vision within you. You do not rise above your environment. You are shaped by it. And do not forget people. Your identity is echoed by your circle. Spend time with people who reflect the version of you that you are becoming, not the one you are trying to leave behind. Every conversation is either an echo or a nudge. An echo of your past or a nudge toward your future. Choose carefully. But above all, remember this: identity is not a fixed trait. It is a system setting. You can rewrite it. You can reset it. You can choose right now to stop living by your past labels and start embodying your future vision. The shift is simple. You stop asking, "Can I do this?" And you start declaring, "This is who I am now." So today, ask yourself, who do I need to become to sustain this system? Who is the version of me that effortlessly lives this structure? See that person. Name their traits. Hear their voice. Watch their rhythm. Then begin to act as them. Speak as them. Design as them. Not someday, today. Because when identity locks in, everything else becomes easier. Habits stick. Time aligns. Focus sharpens. Systems serve. Not because you are trying harder, but because your life finally fits the person you have become. You were never meant to stay the same. You were meant to evolve, to rise, to transcend the story you were given and write the one you were born for. Your identity is not your history. It is your system's foundation. Install it well, and let it carry everything. Chapter 12. Let the system scale what your hands cannot. There is a limit to what your hands can hold, a ceiling to what your time can manage, a boundary around your personal energy. And if your vision depends only on your manual effort, it will always be fragile, always exposed, always at the mercy of your mood, your health, your availability. This is why systems are not just for survival. They are for scale. They are the bridge between what you can do alone and what your future requires. Too many people carry their future in their own strength. They pride themselves on being hands-on doing it all themselves, on staying involved in every detail. But the same effort that built their momentum becomes the weight that breaks it. They cannot step away. They cannot rest. Because their absence means the entire machine stops. That is not success. That is entrapment. You do not want to build something that only survives when you are present. You want to build something that grows when you are absent. That continues to serve even while you sleep. That moves forward without your constant input. Not because you do not care, but because you care enough to design beyond your limits. This is the gift of scale. It is not about more pressure, more hours, or more hustle. It is about more leverage, more clarity, more simplicity. It is about extracting the essence of what works and embedding it into repeatable, transferable systems that multiply your effort without multiplying your stress. I remember meeting an artist whose work had gained sudden popularity. Her craft was impeccable, but she was drowning. Every new client, every request, every message came directly to her. She handled it all: design, delivery, details. Her calendar was full, but her heart was burning out. If I stop, she said, it all falls. That was her truth until she built a system. She documented her process, delegated communication, streamlined orders, created templates, automated follow-ups. Within weeks, her time returned. Within months, her income grew without her working more. She had finally scaled. This is what a system can do. It holds what your hands cannot. It remembers what your brain forgets. It executes when you are tired. It simplifies what was once chaotic. And when it is well built, it becomes a force of freedom, not confinement. Start by asking yourself, what do I repeat every week that could be automated, delegated, or eliminated? That report you write. That email you send. That decision you keep making. Most of what drains you is not difficult, it is just unstructured. So structure it. Record your process. Turn it into a checklist. Use templates. Create workflows. Teach others how to do what you do the way you do it. The goal is not to remove your presence. It is to multiply your presence. To turn your excellence into systems that others can follow. To turn your brilliance into blueprints. So that your impact is not limited by your bandwidth. So that your genius becomes shareable, sustainable, scalable. And let us speak about automation, not just mechanical, but mental. You must automate decisions that do not deserve your daily attention. Your meals, your outfits, your routines. Make them defaults. Simplify the things that do not move the needle, so your brain can stay focused on what truly matters. This applies to your communication too. Create standards. Set expectations. Use tools that prevent overload. Use scheduling links. Use auto- responses with clarity. Let people know how to work with you, when to reach you, what to expect. Do not let your boundaries be reactive. Build them into your system so they protect you before the chaos arrives. And then, as your system expands, let it hold space for others. Do not be the bottleneck. Train. Delegate. Empower. Give people ownership of processes, not just tasks. Teach them the why, not just the how. A system that only works when one person touches it is not a system, it is a trap. You must build something that breathes without your constant breath. Scaling your system also means scaling your clarity. Every goal must have a process. Every process must have a rhythm. Every rhythm must have an owner. Every owner must have accountability. These are the pillars of a scalable life. When they are present, your vision grows. When they are missing, your vision collapses under its own weight. And yet do not confuse scale with speed. The goal is not to move faster. It is to move cleaner. To reduce friction. To build smooth, repeatable flows. Scale without alignment is chaos at a higher volume. So as you scale, always return to your foundation. Does this serve the mission? Does this reflect the identity? Does this multiply what matters? When your system is right, you feel it. There is peace in the process. Momentum in the movement. Confidence in the delegation. You begin to trust your life again. Not because you have all the answers, but because you have built a framework that protects your time, carries your vision, and frees your hands. You are not meant to hold everything. You are meant to design a world where what you have built begins to carry itself. That is the power of scale. That is the beauty of systems. They allow you to be human again, to rest, to think, to dream. Because now, your life is not built on your back. It is built on your design. Let the system rise so your soul can breathe. Let it carry what your hands no longer should. And in doing so, watch your future grow without limits. Chapter 13. The rhythm that replaces resets. Most people live in cycles of collapse and comeback. They push hard, burn out, disappear for a while, then try to start over again. The energy is heroic. The pattern is tragic. Because each reset feels like rebirth, but it is really repetition. A loop disguised as a breakthrough. They think they are starting fresh, but they are simply returning to the beginning of a broken cycle. This is what happens when you build without rhythm. When your life is driven by sprints instead of systems. When your habits rely on emotion, and your goals depend on hype. Eventually, you will crash. And when you do, the only solution the world offers is another round of motivation. Another challenge. Another new year, new me. But what you really need is not another reset. You need a rhythm. Rhythm is the design of consistency. It is not intensity. It is not pressure. It is the gentle beat of behaviors that align with who you are becoming. It is the structure that makes success boring, predictable, sustainable. When rhythm is present, you do not need to recover because you never collapse. You do not need to be rescued because you are never drowning. You move forward every day, not by force, but by flow. I once coached a man who was addicted to breakthroughs. Every few months, he would declare a massive shift. He would delete all his apps, reset his goals, fast for days, wake up at 4, and tell the world he had changed. But 6 weeks later, the pattern returned. The chaos, the clutter, the crash. He lived in cycles of extremity. Highs and lows. All or nothing. And eventually, he was exhausted. Not from failure, but from constantly starting over. So I asked him to do something radical. Stop resetting. Stop chasing the high. Stop treating every slump like a crisis. Instead, we designed rhythm. Morning rituals that were gentle but grounding. Work blocks that were firm but flexible. Reflection time weekly, not sporadically. He resisted at first. It felt too simple. Too soft. But within months, his life was stable. Not dramatic. Not viral. Just steady. And in that steadiness, he found a power he had never known. That is what rhythm gives you. The power to keep going without crashing. The space to grow without panic. The permission to have off days without unraveling your entire life. When rhythm holds, you do not fear low motivation. You do not dread busy weeks. Because your system knows how to adjust without collapse. Rhythm is the reason some people seem unshakable. They do not have more willpower. They have more wisdom. They know that the mind gets tired. the heart gets heavy. But if the rhythm is strong, the foundation holds. They do not live in sprints. They live in cycles. Not of burnout, but of balance. To build rhythm, you must begin with your energy. Not every day is equal. Some days are for building. Some for breathing. Some for bold action. Some for deep rest. Your rhythm must reflect that. Your system must know when to push and when to pause. This is not weakness. It is mastery. A runner who never rests will never reach the finish line. A musician who never pauses will never find harmony. Your rhythm should be built into your week. Maybe Mondays are for planning. Tuesdays and Wednesdays for deep work. Thursdays for collaboration. Fridays for reflection. Saturdays for silence. Sundays for strategy. This is not about rigidity. It is about predictability. When your life has rhythm, your mind has margin. And within each day, rhythm should breathe too. Begin with grounding. Midday, center. End with gratitude and release. These are not extras. They are anchors. They keep your nervous system from spiraling. They keep your mind from fracturing. They keep your soul in sync with your schedule. The world around you is chaotic. It moves fast, shouts loudly, demands urgently. If you do not build internal rhythm, external chaos will always win. But when you have rhythm, you become immune to the noise. You move with purpose, not panic. You respond, not react. You build, not burn. And here is the truth: the most transformative lives are not made in moments of massive change. They are shaped by years of quiet rhythm. The writer who writes daily. The leader who reflects weekly. The athlete who recovers intentionally. The parent who shows up consistently. These are the lives that last. Because they are built on rhythm, not rescue. So if you are tired of starting over, stop stopping. Build a system so rhythmic, so rooted, that it carries you through the low days. Let go of perfection. Embrace flow. Let your habits hum quietly in the background of your life. Let your routines become rituals. Let your days find their beat. You do not need a new you. You need a steady you. One who no longer waits for the perfect Monday, the next month, the big change. One who wakes up, steps in, and trusts the rhythm. Because when rhythm replaces reset, life begins to grow without interruption. Reset the standard, reclaim the mind. This is the moment where everything must come into focus. Not as an idea. Not as inspiration. But as ownership. Because you have read enough words. You have absorbed enough truth. Now the mirror must rise. And you must ask yourself, not with judgment, but with honesty, what have I accepted that no longer aligns with who I am becoming? You see, most people are not held back by a lack of vision. They are held back by low standards. They tolerate clutter. They excuse chaos. They live beneath their potential, not because they do not care, but because they have normalized dysfunction. Their standards are silent and spoken, but powerful. And until those standards are reset, the system will always default to average. The standard is not what you say. It is what you allow. It is not your goals. It is your tolerance. What you put up with. What you permit. What you let linger. And your life will always reflect the standard you settle for. So pause right now. Do not skim this. Look around your life. Your calendar. Your health. Your space. Your commitments. Your mornings. Your evenings. Your relationships. Ask yourself, is this built for my future or built by my past? This system can only serve what the standard protects. You cannot install excellence into a life that still honors mediocrity. You cannot build consistency in an environment that permits chaos. And you cannot sustain clarity when your boundaries are fogged by guilt. You must decide. With courage. With fire. With finality. What is no longer welcome here? What distractions must die? What habits must be rewritten? What excuses must be buried? This is not about perfection. It is about power. The power to no longer be confused about who you are. The power to stop living like your past still owns your future. The power to say that version of me, the scattered one, the reactive one, the one who keeps hitting reset, no longer makes the decisions here. From this moment on, you must reset the standard. And that begins with the mind. Because the mind is the gate. The battleground. The birthplace of every standard you live by. If your mind is still running the old scripts, I am not consistent, I always get overwhelmed, this is just who I am, then the system will collapse, no matter how elegant the structure. You must rewrite the inner code. Start with your language. No more passive phrases. No more vague desires. Speak with clarity. I protect my time. I live in rhythm. I design outcomes. I no longer tolerate chaos disguised as urgency. These are not mantras. They are declarations. And every time you speak them, you align your identity with your structure. Then look at your inputs. Your mind is a reflection of what you consume. If you are always plugged into noise, your thoughts will always be fractured. Design your information diet. Limit reactive content. Schedule silence. Read deliberately. Reflect consistently. Make space for clarity to find you. Next, audit your agreements. Every commitment you keep is a contract with your future. Are you saying yes to things that dilute your mission? Are you holding on to tasks, relationships, or patterns that no longer serve who you are becoming? If so, release them. With kindness. With firmness. With finality. And do not underestimate this, your surroundings are constantly speaking to your mind. Your environment is a mirror. If your space is cluttered, your thoughts will be too. Reset your space to reflect your new standard. Remove the unnecessary. Highlight the meaningful. Let your physical world become a quiet affirmation of your internal world. Finally, implement rituals of review. This system does not run itself, it evolves. You must reflect. Weekly. Honestly. Ask what is working. What is draining me? What did I tolerate this week that I must eliminate next week? Without reflection, the standard erodes. Slowly. Quietly. Until you wake up one day back in a life you no longer recognize. This part of the journey is not loud. It is sacred. It is the quiet minus alignment of soul and system. It is where you no longer chase motivation because your standard will not allow you to drift. It is where your identity rises to meet your actions, and your actions become a daily declaration of who you are. You are not someone who starts over. You are someone who builds forward. You are not someone who waits. You are someone who decides. You are not someone who manages chaos. You are someone who installs clarity. This is your reset. Not of routine, but of mind, of belief, of standard. Do not lower your structure to match your doubt. Raise your standard to match your destiny. Because from here, the only thing left is to embody what you have built. The final call: build it so you can become it. This is where everything changes, not because the system is complete, but because now you must carry it. No more theory. No more notes. No more waiting for better timing, more energy, or perfect conditions. The decision must be made now. Because you are not here by accident. You're here because something inside you refused to stay asleep. Something inside you was done settling. Done circling. Done calling chaos a personality trait. You came here to build something. Something sustainable. Something sacred. A life that does not collapse when you are tired. A rhythm that does not vanish when motivation fades. A structure that carries your vision with precision. That is what this has all been about. Not productivity. Not hustle. Not performance. But becoming the kind of person whose future is held, not hoped for. Let me speak clearly, the old way is done. The version of you that needed pressure to perform, guilt to take action, and chaos to feel alive, that version is over. You are not in survival anymore. You are not reacting anymore. You are building now. You are moving with intention now. You are taking everything you have lived, and instead of letting it define you, you are letting it inform the masterpiece you are now designing. You cannot live a new life with an old mind. And you cannot rise with a system that is still anchored in your wounds. So here is the final call: draw the line. Not in theory. In time. In space. In rhythm. In action. Decide what day one really means. Not the day you feel ready. The day you act anyway. Build it like you mean it. Build your mornings to protect your peace, even if it means letting go of what others expect. Build your boundaries to defend your genius, even if it means being misunderstood. Build your schedule to serve your energy, even if it looks strange to the busy and the burned out. Build your priorities like they are sacred altars, not items on a checklist. Build your space so it reflects your future, not your past. Build your rituals so they carry your soul, not just your tasks. And most of all, build your identity like it is your only job, because it is. Because from here forward, you are no longer waiting for life to settle down. You are no longer hoping things will get easier. You are done starting over. You are becoming consistent. You are becoming whole. You are becoming the system. And when you become the system, life bends to match your rhythm. Others will wonder how you do it. They will ask what changed. You will not say, I found motivation. You will say, I installed a new standard. You will not say, I had a breakthrough. You will say, I became someone who builds. They will see your calm, your clarity, your consistency. And they will not see the discipline. They will see the result. They will not understand the system, but they will feel the power. Because when the system is aligned, your presence shifts. Your energy stabilizes. Your confidence deepens. You no longer sell yourself chaos. You no longer buy into the culture of burnout. You become proof that life can be designed differently. That effort can be peaceful. That progress can be quiet. That success can be soulful. This is your final call to embody it. No more pretending. No more peaks followed by collapse. No more dragging yourself through cycles of regret. You are ready now. Not because you feel ready, but because the system is ready. Let it carry you. Let it remind you. Let it rebuild you. Then go build the thing that only you can build, a life that reflects your highest self, powered by rhythm, protected by clarity, and sustained by design. No more waiting. You are the system now. Live accordingly.